Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we're continuing with our weekly shir on the Zohar HaKadosh, illuminating the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu with the fire of Rabbi Shimon, and illuminating the vessels of Rabbi Shimon with the water of Moshe Rabbeinu to unify Chachma and Bina together, the heart and the mind, to reveal the Keser Elyon Alav Nikra. And we're encountering a Parsha of Yichud, we're encountering Vayigash. Vayigash, as the Meshilach says, Vayidin Shrei Gewalt. Vayidin Shrei Gewalt. Yidden scream out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The secret of Vayigash, the secret of Vayidden Shrei Gewalt, is the recognition that the Yid in this world, operating in a place prior to redemption, is still operating from a place of splitness. There's still, ultimately, no matter how deep the yichud is, we're still going to be split between the perspective of Yosef and Yehuda. And when there comes to be a moment of connectivity between Yosef and Yehuda, between Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David, between Chachma and Bina, between above and below, between light and darkness, between Chasadim and Gvuros, between Yesod and Malchus, between Zer Anpin and Malchus, between Shemayim and Aretz, between Yom and Laila, between Torah Shebachsav and Torah Shebal Peh, between Moshe and Aaron, between Moshe and Yoshua, between each person and themselves, each person and their other, each person with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, anytime there's going to be a unity that emerges from within that awareness that there continues to be splitness, the awakening towards that yichud comes about by way of Mayim Nukvin. Mayim Nukvin is the orientation of desire that comes from below to above, that is fundamentally dependent upon a recognition of a deficiency. And so when we come to a place of the yichud between Yosef and Yehuda, as we're going to see, Vayigash Elav Yehuda Vayomer Bi Adoni, that Yehuda comes close to Yosef HaTzadik and he says that I hold the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu within me as well. And Yosef, who represents Yesod, which represents Zer Anpin, which represents Shamayim, and Yehuda, which represents Aretz, and it represents Malchus, there's a unity, there's an awakening towards the unity of opposites that's taking shape there, and right before that there's an awakening and an awareness of the deficiency that we encounter when there is a lack of that yichud. That's the secret of Vai Yidin Shrei Gewalt, that when a Yid screams Gewalt, when a Yid screams Gewalt, Gewalt, as Rav Tzadok HaKohen Meilbulin explains in Parshas Vayeschanan, that when a person finds themselves in the narrow straits and there's nothing else that they can say, all they can do is scream out, Gewalt, Gewalt. Vai Yidin Shrei Gewalt. Scream out Yidin Gewalt is the awakening towards the Yichud that is about to emerge. That's the Choshech that precedes the light. That's the darkness in which we have to light the candles. And that's the entire secret of Vayigash. That's the entire secret of history. And it's certainly the story of what it means to be a human being and what it means to be in the process of Chanukah as well. That prior to the unity between Yosef and Yehuda, prior to the full expression of the unification between the two sides of things, there's an awakening to Vai Yidin Shrei Gewalt. There needs to be a Mayan Nukvin, a Hisayrus, a recognition that without you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm not going to make it. That there's Al Sfas HaMaves at the brink of losing one's mind. It's that recognition that without you, Ribbon Shleilam, I have absolutely nothing today. And at that point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives for the day. Chol Karenu Elav, somebody who calls out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in earnest, in a sense of hopelessness and the recognition of deficiency, that I can't do it alone. In that place of Vayid and Shrei Gewalt, that's when the only thing that I can continue to yell is Gewalt, when there's no words that can convey what I'm trying to say, when it's the Tefillah Liani Kiyatov, and that scream of Gewalt, that awakens the unity between Vayigash Elav Yehuda. That's the Takruva de Malka B'Malka. That's the unity of the king with the king, the two kings, the Shemesh and the Levana, the Shnei Malachim Bekeser Echad. But that's preceded by a Vayid and Shrei Gewalt. And this is the secret of Chanukah, and this is the secret of the Zohar HaKadosh, and all forms of illumination that necessitate a certain darkening and an area of concealment to illuminate the light that comes afterwards. The book of the Zohar is a book of the nighttime, as we've said. It's the book of dreaming. It's the book of why it's more beneficial to be a human being rather than a malach, in spite of the fact that being a human being is by definition difficult and fundamentally flawed, as opposed to the work of a malach who can fall into the notion of being in a complete state. It's specifically in the dip below 10 tvachim, into the place of the ragla de tarmadoi. Tarmadoi is a lashon of of slumber, of translation, of a concealment and a choshech that forces me to cultivate lights that would not have been needed to be cultivated had there not been the first encounter with choshech, and it's the descent into the domain of multiplicity, into Rishus HaRabim, where a person feels scattered and a person feels torn apart in all different ways. It's specifically there that the light begins to be kindled, because we know Shraga b'tahira mayahani, a candle in the illumination and the brilliance of the sun. What benefit does it offer? It's specifically in accordance with the darkness, that a person has the ability to illuminate the darkness. Hashem Yagia Chashki, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu illuminates our choshech, and that kli of choshech, and that shichacha that a person felt a moment before is transformed into a place of zikaron mufleges. And it's specifically the olives that enable us to understand the benefit of olive oil, the olives that are kasha l'shichacha, that cause us to forget, that cause us to fall into darkness of this worldliness, into deficiency, into the Vayid and Shraigavalt. It's specifically from there that there's going to be an awakening towards the Zikaron Hamufleges that understands the potency of what it means to be a human being, the illumination that can specifically come about from below itself. And this is what the Zohar Kaddish is coming to teach us when we're going to be reading on Reish Hey Amud Beis in Parshas Vayigash. Zakbehel Zohar. Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Yehuda, have a Yasvei Leilachad Veloin Ba'iraisa. Rabbi Yitzchak and Rabbi Yehuda, the secret of Gevura and Malchus, the secret of the Gevuros of Malchus, the secret of the Gevura that's hidden within the original expression of Malchus, the Ein Sof Kavyachol, which is the capacity towards creating the world, the secret of the Tzimtzum, which is the Hiskalus of that Malchus, the Ein Sof, that Yitzchak that's Tamun within Yehuda, the Gevuros that are Tamun within Malchus, Vayira of Ba'aretz, the origination of existence and the creation of deficiency for the sake of creating this world itself. We're going to learn out the value of this world and why it's more powerful to be a human being in this world in spite of the fact that it's difficult. But nevertheless, we have the ability to reveal a deeper expression of light, which Chanukah comes to teach us. It's taught to us by Rav Yitzchak and Rav Yehuda. Rav Yitzchak is the Gevurus, as the Zohar Kadosh in Parshas Vayigash starts off, that the Geula is going to come about by way of Yitzchak, Ki Ata Avinu, that it's only by way of the Gevurus and the proper understanding of the Tzimtzum and the Bnei Bina, Yemei Shmona, and the understanding of Bina, which is the Schoik HaElyon, the laughter that emerges when Yitzchak Avinu is Magala, the secret of Tchias HaMesim from within darkness itself, that secret of Yoshev B'Seser Al Yavan, specifically in the stira that comes about as the way of the Tzimtzum. The Tzimtzum is the secret Nitzachon that we have over Yavan, because Yavan can't understand the Tzimtzum, but what we reveal is that even within the Tzimtzum there's more, that even within the constriction there's a revelation. Even though there's only oil for one night, it extends itself to 8 nights, and the secret of Bina and the secret of Malchus and Bina that are makusher together. That's the secret of Rav Yitzchak and Rav Yehuda, and they were Havayasvei Leilachad. They were sitting one night. It was darkness. It was exile. It's Malchus and the Gvur of Malchus that are contemplating the nature of exile. Chad v'la'in ba'iraisa, and the only way to process and the only way to come to see the light that emerges from darkness is to be la'in ba'iraisa. The Torah is the lashon of or. The Torah, as Moshe Rabbeinu teaches us, is only valuable because it represents the deficiency of the human being, and it's specifically in the deficiency of the human being that we come to uncover the secret miraculous partnership that exists between our imperfect expression of vessels and the perfect light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Rav Yitzchak and Rabbi Yehuda, the secret of the Gevuros and Malchus, were sitting in the nighttime of exile, and they had the only Eitzah, which was to learn Torah, to be la'in ba'iraisa. So they're learning in the nighttime to illuminate the dark. Amar Rav Yitzchak Rav Yehuda. Rav Yitzchak says to Rav Yehuda, Gvura says to Malchus, Ha Taninan, we've already learned, the Kadbara Kutshabarichu Alma Avid Alma Tata Kegavna de Alma Ilah Ukula da Lekabel da. So Gevura, which is the representation of the emergence of this worldliness, of this lowly world, he tells to Malchus, he tells to Rabbi Yehuda, the Kad Baruch Hu Shebricha Alma, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, and when HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed existence to unfold through the secret of the Tzimtzum, Avad Alma Tata, Kegavna da Alma Ilah, the lowest place, this worldliness, the byproduct of the Tzimtzum, and the Tzimtzum of all of the Tzimtzums, which is Soif Mas of Machshavet Chila, and Malchusa Malchus Olamim, but this Alma Tata is modeled and measured in exact accordance to the ascendant world, that Rachel is a reflection of Leah, and that Malchus is a reflection of Bina ultimately, and all that is revealed is ultimately rooted in that which is concealed. But the purpose is the world of revelation. But the world of revelation, this lowly world of Tachlis, Hakadosh, the Tachlis of Bria Sa'ilim, which is to be Megala Dir B'Tachtonim. Here we see that the Dir B'Tachtonim is dome to the above, to the world above. The Kula Dal Kabel, everything in this lowly world, everything in this constricted palace of darkness is reflective of a light above. The ihu yikre le'elavatata. And in truth, the only beauty and the only value emerges when it is the unification of above and below. As we say on Friday night, that the secret unity is the unity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu above and the secret of unity down here below. And it's only there where there's a shleimus and a connectivity between above and below, not only the celestial realms of transcendent awareness, but also in the imminent realms of concealment, is specifically where we're going to reveal the yakros of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda responds to Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak is pointing out the equality between above and below. And Rabbi Yehuda is coming along and he's saying something even deeper than Rabbi Yitzchak is saying. Rabbi Yitzchak is saying that ultimately this lower world is reflective of the higher world. Tzimtzum, even though it's stuck, is still reflective of the wholeness. Rabbi Yehuda comes along and he says, Hachi hu vadai. That's certainly true. Bara Adam al Kula. But what's even more true is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the human being to be in a form of rulership over both of them. That even though the human being is created down here below, which, yeah, we can say that the lower worlds are correspondent to the higher worlds, but they're obviously lesser value. That's the Havamina that a person can have from the perspective of Rabbi Yitzchak. But Rabbi Yehuda comes along and says is that even though there's an equality between the two of them, ultimately the main purpose and the real purpose of everything is the human being in this world. And the human being in this world has ownership of even the realms above, because that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted Nishmas Yisrael to feel. Anoichi asiti aretz va'adam aleha barasi. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that I've created the land and I've placed the human being on top. Anoichi asiti aretz vade. We know that already, says the Zohar Kadosh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you created the world. My time asiti aretz. But what's the reason that I've created the aretz? Begin the adam aleha barasi, because ultimately I was going to create the human being. The human being is not a byproduct of a symptomatic trauma of Shiras HaKelim. The human being and their imperfections is the fundamental reflection of the secret of being Megala Kvod Shemayim down here below, and the secret of Yosef and Yehuda. Yosef is Shemayim, but Yehuda is the revelation of light from down here. And Yehuda is saying, don't think that below and above are simply equal, but ultimately the unification of above and below comes out specifically through the creation of the Adam down here. That's the unification that HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows us to live with, the unity between above and below, and the secret that it's specifically below that we can reveal the unity of above and below. As the Ataras of Ziditrov says in this Chelak of the Zohar HaKadosh, that this is the secret of the Yosher, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world where ultimately through the secret of Tzimtzum it is going to appear as if the human being, Nishmas Yisrael, is going to be on equal playing field to a certain degree of significance as much as the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now obviously we're fundamentally aware that power that we have only comes about by way of our acknowledgement of our powerlessness, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants Nishmas Yisrael to feel that way, and ultimately it only comes about because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to feel that way. But nevertheless, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a shivayon. In the secret of Baruch Sha'amar V'haya Ha'olam is his Rosh Tevos B'Shav. There's a shivisi, there's an equality and an equanimity between above and below, to the degree that it appears that it's Chatzitzuros, and the secret of Chatzotzros, that down here is half and above is half. And even though obviously HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Shalom b'chol minei shleimus, nevertheless, the great shleimus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is that he wants Klal Yisrael to feel that it's specifically when we reveal his light from down here above, that it's going to reveal the fundamental unity. That's the purpose of Brias HaOlam, says Rabbi Yehuda. That it's only through the human being that full and total unity is going to come about. So we see that Rabbi Yehuda is teaching us the secret of the Malchus Shebemalchus. It's higher than just the Gevura Shebemalchus, which Rabbi Yitzchak says there's equality. Rabbi Yehuda says there's not only equality, but the Tachlis is the Dir B'Tachtoinim and the Avoda that we do. Not to say Rabbi Yitzchak is arguing. Adrabah, Rabbi Yitzchak is the Koyach that gives Rabbi Yehuda to be able to say this. Pasach v'Yamar. Rabbi Yehuda opens up his mouth and he says, Pasach again, he's creating openings. Ho Amar Hakel Hashem Boire Hashemayim V'Noitehem Rokeh Haaretz V'Tza'atza'eh Noten Neshama La'am Aleha V'Ruach Laholchem Bo. The pasuk says in Yeshaya that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I've created the land and all that grows forth from it. I've extended the ground and all that is populated within it. I've placed the soul within the nation who rests upon the land, and the spirit upon those who walk through it. Haikra Ukma. This teaching has already been established. But in the light of the Zohar HaKadosh, the fact that it's been established already doesn't mean that we can't reestablish it, and the reestablishment doesn't take away from the previous establishment, but both operate in unison. And the secret of Elu Ve'elu Divrei Elokim Chayim, the secret of the Yichud between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, which is the fifth day of Chanukah. Aval Koyamar Hashem, what does the pasuk mean right now? This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu has said, Bayrish Shemayim v'Naitayim, I've created the Shemayim and all that extends forth from it. This is the secret of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is above in the realm of Bina, in the realm of the Gimel Rishon, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is perpetually present. HaKadosh Baruch Hu extends the land, that's the secret of Zer Anpin, that's the secret of Kutchabrichu, Da'ara Kadisha Tzura Dachaya. This is the secret of human experience. Noite Neshama La'am Aleha, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu has placed the soul into the nation that rests upon it. Dahi Diyahava Neshama. This is what gives the neshama to Malchus. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak answers, Kula Ihu La'ela. No, the neshama doesn't necessarily go down to Malchus, Rabbi Yehuda, as you're saying. The Baal HaSulam is masbi here, the machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yitzchak with regards to the extension of the chelek of the nefesh into Malchus from the realm of Bina, but ultimately suffice it to say that Rabbi Yehuda is saying that Malchus receives something mamish from Bina in the secret of being able to function on its own. Rabbi Yitzchak is reminding Kula Ihu La'ela, everything exists above in the realm of Bina. And yes, Avada, there's a relationship between Bina and Malchus, but Bina doesn't give over to Malchus completely, but Malchus is receiving from Bina. V'hai aretz nakta nishmase l'mayev l'kulei begin dahahi nahar denogid v'nofik ihu yahiv v'ayel nishmase l'hai aretz v'ihu nakta loin v'yahavin l'kula. And as Rav Yitzchak says, what takes place is that the creatures in this world ascend upwards to that place of Alma Asi, to that place of Bina, which is that place where we draw down the light of this worldliness and constriction from, the source of all of the Gvuros, which will ultimately express themselves in the Tzimtzum itself. We go up there into Bina and we draw it down in the secret of the Nahar, the Nagid, V'nafik, in the secret of Nahar Yotzimi Eden. It's the river that is perpetually emerging and flowing. Ihu Yahiv, Ayel Nishmasin. It gives shape where all of the Neshamos ascend up there, Lahai Aretz, in the nighttime into that place of Bina, Eretz HaChayim, V'ihu Naktaloin, V'yahavin L'kula, and it distributes, in that place of Bina, Im Habarim Smecha, distributes the light of spirituality to each and every neshama. That's what Rav Yitzchak is coming to clarify when it comes to Rabbi Yehuda's statement, that ultimately it's still all about going up back into Bina, into that secret of tshuva, and drawing down the koyach in order to engage more in this worldliness, to reveal the secret of Tosefes Kishut and the adornment of perfection that comes about by way of the illumination of darkness itself. Tachazi. Come and see. Come and see, says the Zohar Kadosh, this notion of the human being, which represents the fundamental purpose of creation. How were they created? HaKadosh Baruch Hu gathered together dust, afar, from all four corners of the earth. Afar is the lowest quality, as we've spoken about. Afar is the lowest, but nevertheless, it's afar de manakula. Afar is that place of imagination, as we spoke about in the Zohar Kadosh on Parshas Chayesara, that afar is the lowest part of the self, but it's specifically in that low part of self that we have that possibility of becoming those who are min ha'aluvim ve'enan ne'elavim, or min ha'ne'elavim ve'enam aluvim, meaning those who are stepped upon, but nevertheless they don't complain about it. They have the ability of identifying that place of equanimity in the mind through imagination and through abstraction, and the secret of Shavis Hashem L'Nagdi Tamid, of Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus L'Avad. The Afar, Rabbeinu says, is stepped upon, it's trampled upon, it's despised, it's unvalued, but nevertheless it's the birthplace of all of the Tosefet Kishutin. It's where jewelry comes from, it's where the rectification of all domim comes from, all inanimate matter comes from. Afar de manakula, it's the secret of the basis of all things. It's the shaka la afar nafshenu, that our nefesh goes down to the afar, the lowest place imaginable, into that place of dimyon, into lamatam yasar tfachim, into the ragle de tarmadoy, into rishus harabim, into that place of the dimyon of not knowing which way is up and which way is down, but ultimately transforming it in Chanukah, which is gematria medama, to transform the afar haaretz into the place of binyan beis hamikdash, which Rabbeinu points out in oismem and sichos haran, which is the secret of the dreidel, which is elyonim lamata v'tachtonim lamala, that this is the lowest place. Afar is in truth the highest place imaginable, and that which we thought was perfect is in truth imperfect, and that it's specifically within the imagination that we have to come to find HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That the Adam, which is ultimately the most valuable crowning jewel of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's creation, the reason for HaKadosh Baruch Hu creating the entirety of existence down to the lowest possible tzimtzum, which is each and every one of our own minds, in order to reveal the Tosefes Kishut and the Kiddush Hashem that comes out from that place. So iskanish afrei me'arba sitrin da'alma. It's from the scattered corners of the world. A corner is a place of forgetfulness, which is why we have to affix tzitzis there, because that's where imagination has to be uncovered. It's the tzitzis that are applied to the knaf ha'aretz. The knaf is that place where I can't see the connectivity anymore. It's the impossible merging of two sides where my mind loses itself. And specifically there, it's the Kaf Yerach Yaakov, the Pach Shemen, which is Osios Kaf when it's transformed. It's the Chaf HaDimyon and the secret of the Tcheles, which is Doime Liyam, and Yam is Doime L'Rakia, and Rakia is Doime L'Kisia Kavod. It's specifically there that we have to refine the imagination and the Afar in order to transform it into Afraya, which is the Afar of Yud K, which is the secret of the Binyan Ha'adam, where the Dimyon comes from the highest Yichud of Chachma and Bina. The Avid Garme be'eser de mikdasha letata, and Hakadosh Baruch Hu gathered all of this dust together, and He formed it specifically in the place of the Beis Hamikdash lamata. The place of the Beis Hamikdash lamata is that makom of Olam Hafuch Ra'isi. It's that Evan Hashasi. It's the source of the Tzimtzum. It's the lowest place imaginable. It's the Bechina of Eretz Yisrael Mamish, and it's specifically there that a person is going to have the ability of being Megal, the deepest yichud of Vayigash Elav Yehuda, in that secret of Vay Yidin Shrei Gevalt. Be'imshech Aleha Nishmasa, and it's from that place that Hakadosh Baruch Hu draws out the neshama, the chayim, bein mikdash le'ela, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives the soul to the individual whose body is formed from the dust of the earth, from all of the corners of forgetfulness, and the breath of life emerges in from the Beis HaMikdash itself, from that place of makom ha'aron eno min amida, from that place of mibein shnei akruvim, and the secret of the neshama, which is the nun and Moshe Rabbeinu, the chelik of Moshe within each and every person, with the nun creates the neshama, that place where it's drawn down from the innermost place of Kodesh HaKadoshim, where each and every person enters in. Kol chad l'chad l'fum shiur delay. Each person has their own unique relationship with that hidden place of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, where their neshama comes from, but it's mislabish in their guf that's nivne from the afar haaretz. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu draws out the light of life, the nishmasa d'chayim ibe mikdasha de le'ela, v'nishmasa ihu klila b'plastargan. And this neshama that comes forth from Gan Eden, this neshama that emerges from within the Kodesh HaKadoshim, is a unified whole that has three compartments to it. And those three compartments are the nefesh, the ruach, and the neshama. We're talking now about the embodied states of consciousness. We're not talking about the chaya and the yechida, the makif Karov and the Makif Rachok, those elements of graspability that we know that we can't grasp, so that implies a certain closeness yet distance. It's a close sense of distance versus the Yechida, which is the distance of distance. We're not talking about the Chaya and the Yechida, we're talking about the Nefesh, the Ruach, and the Neshama, because ultimately that which the human being represents is the tripartite breakdown of a unified whole, which is the head, the body, and the lower part of the self, the nefesh, the ruach, and the neshama, the naran, the kaved, the liver, the heart, the emotional place, and the brain, which is going to be the place of consciousness. Now, we start with the body, we start with the nefesh, and ultimately the nefesh, which is the bare quality of the self as it emerges, contains all of it, as Rav Chaim Vital hints in Shar HaKudim, that what he heard from his Rebbe, the Arizal, even though he doesn't want to say it explicitly, is that even though we grow in incremental growth, that it's the first shlav of the nefesh, which corresponds to the body, and then when that's complete, the ruach comes in, and when that's complete, the neshama comes in, and then we can complete ourselves on all levels. Nevertheless, at the very first point in the instantiation and that irreducible droplet that represents the sum total of the self, all things are contained. And all we're doing is we're not drawing down new levels that we were never zocha to, but we're being mezachich and refining ourselves to reveal that which has always been present, and the secret of remembering that which has been forgotten. We learned all of the Torah and we forgot it, and therefore when we learn it again, it's simply an act of remembering something that has always been there, as opposed to the distant way of trying to draw forth something that has never been there. And so when we talk about the nefesh, the ruach, and the neshama, and the way in which it develops, especially as the Arizal points out in Shar HaGilgulim, we come to understand the holistic part orientation to the human self, where each part contains the whole. But over here, the neshama that comes directly from the Beis Hamikdash, from Bina above, is going to be composed of tlas dargin. It's composed of three parts. The alda, tlas, shimen, inan, l'nishmasa. And for this reason, there are three names that can be applied to the neshama. Kegavna deraze ilah, just as the secret of above. Nefesh, ruach, and neshama. The nefesh, the lowest part, the body, which is in truth going to be revealed, the highest part, it's the Beis HaMikdash itself. Nefesh ha'ukma di'ihu tata mikula. We've already taught that the nefesh is the lowest level of self. It's the body itself. It's the vitality of the body. It's the felt sense in the body. And again, we're showing how all of the topsy-turvy nature of that which appears to be low is in truth going to be the place of drawing the light down in the secret of Vayigash Gewalt. Ruach ihu kiyuma deshalta al nefesh. The ruach is the emotional valence of the self and the lived experience of the viscerality of self, which has an ownership over the nefesh. It's meant to regulate the nefesh. It's meant to tame the bodily and habituated forces of the nefesh. V'ihu darga ilo alo lekaima alo bekula kedekhazi. And when a person is functioning properly, so we have the nefesh, which becomes the basis of self, and then that becomes the receptacle to hold the light of the ruach. And then when the ruach is fixed, neshama ihu kiyuma ilo al kula v'shalta al kula darga kadisha ilo al kula v'ilan tlas dargan kalilan behu b'bnei nosha li'inan dezakin lepulchana demarehon. And then once the nefesh and the ruach are fixed, the neshama comes down, and this neshama is the kiyuma ilo. It's the full capacity to function, in the sense that the neshama is ultimately just the gate that separates that which can be embodied and that which is always perpetually surrounding. It's the meeting point between the pnimi and the makif, which is why the neshama is both here and there. It creates a sense of hishleimamus, that I don't fully understand which orientation the neshama goes to. Is it part of the embodied state of the body itself, or is it rooted with the makif in themselves, that which surrounds the body? And ultimately, the neshama shenasatabi tahirahi, it's the gateway. As Rabbeinu teaches in Torah Nun Aleph, tahara is always an in-between between kedusha and the possibility of tuma rahman al-itzlan. And so the neshama ihu kiyuma ilah, it is that which allows for functionality and sustainability al kula v'shalta al kula, and it gains control, and it's the secret of the neshama that sholit on the ruach and the guf. Darga kadisha, the level of ruach hakodesh, ilah al kula, the ilan plus dargan, and these three levels of nefesh, ruach, and neshama, the mutva, the murgash, and the muskal, the habituated self, the embodied state of emotional feeling, as well as the conscious self, all of them are unified together, and all of them are composed of each other as well. All of those who understand the process of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu will come to understand these secrets. Daha bekadmisa is benefesh. In the beginning, a person gets the nefesh, but like we hinted to in the name of Rav Chaim Vital, which he explains that he heard in the name of his Rebbe, that the nefesh itself holds everything, even though it's prior to the emergence of all other parts. Viyu tikuna kadisha le'takna barnash. That is the first tikkun that a person has to do to get well with the body, to identify the body, and to understand what it means to be a human being in this world, who has to walk and who has to feel and who has to do things. Given the asi barnash le'estacha b'hai dargav etakten le'tatra berucha. Once a person comes to purify their bodies, then they create themselves to become a receptacle for the ruach, the iudarga kadisha desharya al nafsha le'itrabe, which is the ruach, the emotions in the heart that comes to rest upon the body that has been properly rectified. Hahud dezachi. Praiseworthy is the person who merits this. Kivan de estalik buhu benefesh v'ruach. Once a person has the nefesh and the ruach, and the secret of the incremental growth, like the halacha of Beis Hillel, which is malin b'kodesh ve'in maridin. I work on the nefesh, and then the nefesh is there, and then I go back and I allow the nefesh to become a receptacle for the ruach, and then I'm mashlim the ruach, and then vice versa with the neshama v'chulei. Va'ayil v'tatkin b'pulchane demara, and a person ascends upwards, and they engage in the fixing with regards to the service of their God. Ked kayaus kedein shaya aleh neshama. At that point, a person has an expression of the neshama, dargi ilah, the lofty level, kadisha deshalta al kula, begin lesatra bedargi ilah kadisha, that the neshama comes down to infuse the individual with a holiness that has the ability of refining the body and the ruach. It doesn't negate the body and the ruach, it's there to elevate the body and the ruach. Again, highlighting the fact that it's this world specifically where the light is going to come from. And then a person is fully complete, and then a person is prepared to experience the love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. At that point, the person has received yesh. At that point, the person has received the gift of all things, which is yesh, the 310 worlds, the shai olamos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give us in the future. Shai is only a half of Keser. Keser is 620. Yesh is half of Keser. And the secret of Yosis Alayach Alikayach Kimsus Chasan Al-Kala, that the yesh and the yesh ilah and the yesh tata, the secret of above and below, when they're unified together, they're the secret of Keser. But what the Zohar is orienting us to here is how to learn to love the yeshus of this world, how to learn to love Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya, because we come to be aware that they're the Kalim HaRu'uyim, to be Megala, the light of Adam Kadmon, that it's specifically down here in the lowest place imaginable that we allow for the Oy Haveyesh to unfold, for the secret of the Yakar, the secret of the rectification from to be Mahapech Mikra into Yakar, and to transform the darkness of this world into the illumination of opening ourselves up to the enormous influx of light that is perpetually coming down at every moment if we allow ourselves to attune ourselves to that which is taking shape, to pause, look, and listen to that which is taking shape in front of us. And the secret of the Sha'ashuim Yom Yom, and the secret of Toda, and the secret of gratitude, of not asking for more, but coming to recognize that which we always already have, and the secret of saturation, and the secret of Oy Haveyesh, those who love this world, Man De'inun Oy Havai, who are the ones who are going to be those who are beloved by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and who love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ilan Inan de Nishmas HaKadisha Behu. It's those who are going to be the ones who hold the neshama, who have the secret of the neshama. And this is what leads us to Vayigash Elav Yehuda. The Balaturim says, and the Ateres V brings it, Vayigash Elav Yehuda is Sofei Tevos Shav. It's the secret of the equality between Zer Anpin and Malchus, between above and below, between Yosef and Yehuda, between Rachel and Leah, between Chachma and Bina, between the good and the apparently not good, between connection and disconnection. And it's specifically from within the unity of those two that we're going to be Megala, the Yichud of the train Mashiach, and of Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David, of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, which is the secret of Machlokes L'Shem Shamayim. Machlokes Shammai Hillel is Rosh Tevos Moshe, because Moshe is Kolo the train Mashiachan, and it's going to be the Yichud of Zois Chanukah, the secret of Malchus, that's Oila al Kulana, and the secret of Eishes Chayla Taras Baila Malchus Aganuza Beradla, and the secret of the Tzaddik going from Yushalayim to Uman, going from Chachma into Bina in order to pick up more Kalim from within Bina, to be Magdil, the Tosefes Kishet, of showing how it's specifically down in the darkness of the darkness, the Bina itself, the Nefesh Ruach Neshama of it all, the burial place of the Tzaddik of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Talmud Lav Hagunlei. It's specifically there that we're going to be able to uncover the benefit of what it means to be a human being, and kindle lights of Hanukkah, and the secret of Bnei Bina Yemei Shmona, and the secret of the children of Bina, the light of Bina, which is Maven Davar Mitoch Davar. I have to fall from the first Davar, from Yichud Ilah, and go into the second Davar, which is Yichud Tata, and then from there come to the state of knowing that it's specifically the perpetual notion that I always need to do more, not because I'm not good enough, but because there's an endless level of growth that I can have, and the secret of Kedushasi L'malam Mikdushaseichem, and that the self is perpetually imperfect in the light of the Chatzeitros that the Magid HaKadosh describes, and the Chatzitzuros that we're half the image to HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shleimus, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants our broken vessels, He wants our L'mal Matmei Asar Tvachim, He wants the Riboy Or from within the Choshech itself, He wants the fifth night, specifically when it's not on Shabbos, in that place of Hisrachsus HaNefesh, where we descend down into that place of Vayid and Shrei Gevalt. That's going to be the depth of the Yichud, and it's going to be Hayinu Kachomim. The Mashiach Tzidkenu is going to come to reveal how every pocket of Vayid and Shrei Gevalt is going to ultimately be the place of Hine Matuv Umanayim Shavasachim Gam Yachad, that this unity between Yosef and Yehuda, like any machlokas between the tzaddikim, is ultimately a pagisha for the sake of revealing a deeper level of unity in the secret of a batisha. The batisha is the bitachon, the tova, and the simcha that comes about by way of the collision between lights and vessels in the highest secret imaginable that can only be revealed down here, lamata me'asar tvachim, Ezras Hashem.